Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen-X-existentialists. Welcome in, friends, Americans, and countrymen, to this special holiday edition of the Gen-X-existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we're here with you today in this celebration of Thanksgiving. Which I never really went in for. It's a family thing. Family comes over. The whole story of Thanksgiving is just kind of, when you think about what our ancestors, well, not mine, my folks didn't come over until well after this happened, what we did to the American Indians and things like that, the whole Thanksgiving thing.
We bought most of it. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So,
bought it for 3 pennies for 1,000 acres.
Hey,
is that good? The pennies are real copper. See, bite them.
Some people need to learn better haggling techniques, I guess.
Yeah, we brought capitalism without even intending to.
Hey, Thanksgiving is all about gratitude.
It's about gratitude, and that's what we're going to do. That was the negative portion right there out of the way at the beginning. It's about Thanksgiving. It's about being grateful. It's about being happy, right? It's a holiday. We get 2 days off, right? That's the most important thing, right? Is the holiday.
Oh, yeah.
And the time off with your family.
Well, yeah, I will tell you, Thanksgiving was one of those holidays that I always sort of dreaded when I was young.
Why?
It was one of those, I was never a big eater, and the Thanksgiving, of course, was just copious amounts of food, and my parents insisted, you have to eat this. You have to eat something. Oh, come on, eat more than that. And you're blah, 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 just needling me from most of it. But I'll tell you, now that my family is entirely gone, I absolutely miss Thanksgiving.
You want to come over to ours?
It wasn't so much. Well, who knows? Maybe
y'all are welcome.
But I miss seeing my grandparents and my parents and my aunt and all these people sitting around, because they'd always play cards afterwards.
Sure.
And they'd laugh it up. It was kind of an adult thing, and I'd sit in another room and play video games or something. But I'd always hear them in their conversations, and they'd just laugh it up. And then, of course, my grandfather and my father would come in and watch football.
Yeah.
And I would leave the room then somewhere else. I wasn't into football either. I'm just kind of a wet blanket on Thanksgiving, I guess. Not a big eater, don't like football, don't like the gossip. But I miss that sort of the voices in the house.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that.
Joyous voices, glad tidings all around.
Warm regards to all.
Yes. So that's something that I think maybe you Gen Xers out there that are listening, if you still have parents and you sort of dread your Thanksgiving because you're like, oh, we're going to go there and we're going to have arguments and people are going to talk about politics and people are going to talk about religion and blah, blah, blah. Kind of rein it in and just enjoy the fact that they're here and you're all enjoying a bounteous harvest of food. Yeah.
Or even if it's not, because not everybody has that. No. Not everybody has the big meal and everything.
Your bounteous harvest may vary.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that's always kind of gotten me is that there is so much food, and it's because my family, it's almost a little bit of a potluck. Like, my mom always did, the turkey and the basic stuff, but everybody brought different things. Like, people would bring wine, people would bring desserts, and stuff like that. And, my family has dwindled as well. Unfortunately, a lot of the folks that we used to Thanksgiving with are no longer with us. And so even with that, there's always so much stuff. And when everybody can take home a full meal or two with them, you've had too much stuff at your Thanksgiving. And it's cool because I love everybody that shows up. It's always a lot of fun. But at the same time, and I keep saying this and everybody keeps going, no, we can't do that. I keep going why don't we just one of us make a big lasagna and somebody bring garlic bread and somebody do a salad and we just do that? Or why don't we just have burgers? Why don't we just take it down a couple notches? We don't need all this stuff. But
it's all part of the ritual.
And that's the thing.
When the turkey is the ritual, because people just don't fry up a turkey or roast up a turkey on a regular,
no,
August afternoon or something,
And to be brutally honest about it, over the last few years, we've started outsourcing, basically getting the turkey and some of the trimmings from a local vendor that
you can
does
tell your
top
parents,
notch.
Your parents are aging when you start outsourcing Thanksgiving. Because my parents were the same way. It was Bob Evans was the thing, and I'd go down there and stand in a lobby full of 900,000 people all waiting for their Thanksgiving feast.
To pick up a gigantic bag of all kinds of stuff. See, we've been going to City Barbecue and getting a couple turkey breasts, or a couple times we've gotten a whole turkey and some other basic things because, I love their green beans.
So
we get some green beans and stuff. And that's worked out really well because, it saves time. It's actually pretty cost effective when you factor in the time it takes to actually cook a turkey and stuff. And Mom doesn't have to do it. So that's a big bonus right there.
Yeah.
So now that we've told all the listeners about our Thanksgivings and how things go, should we give MegaWheel a spin?
Yeah, let's give her a spin. Maybe we'll put a Thanksgiving spin on MegaWheel's fat old spinneroo.
And MegaWheel is spinning and spinning, and so that's my task, is to turn whatever question pops up into a Thanksgiving episode.
So if Meg was a turkey, how many pounds do you think she'd be?
750 at least.
Ouch. Okay.
I mean, the wings alone would be enough to feed a town.
A lot of that's fat.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing.
It's
big
good for
folks,
tallow.
Bigger folks are always stronger than you think because they have to be strong to carry themselves around.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I say it because I've known and had really good friends that were large people. And literally one of them I'm thinking of right now was one of the strongest people I have ever met.
Yep, they'll knock your block off.
Yeah, literally. It's weirdest thing. People think if someone's overweight like that, they're lazy, they just eat. No, not always, man. You don't know what somebody else goes through.
It's like, can you imagine, you might bench press 250, but think about carrying around 250-pound weights on your back everywhere you go.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
You develop a few muscles.
Yeah. Okay, so our question, are you thankful that marijuana is on its way to becoming legalized for recreational use?
Sure, why not? It'll keep people from fucking talking about it incessantly. I mean, once we get this issue off the plate, I'd be glad to never hear the name marijuana again. And that's not me being an old stick in the mud. I enjoy an edible now and then.
Yeah.
I really wish they'd allow you to grow it in our state. They do not allow that yet. In some states where it is legalized, you can grow 1 or 2 plants for medicinal purposes. I just always wanted to grow marijuana because I saw Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams, and I thought that looks like a lot of fun.
There you go.
But why not? I guess I am thankful that is finally changing and we can get that issue off the national mind.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thankful that it's becoming more normalized, and pretty soon it's going to be a non-factor. You go back to the old arguments, which is worse, alcohol or marijuana?
Neither one of them is very good.
Neither one of them is very good, but the thing is, marijuana, hemp, that whole thing, better for the environment, more useful. There's so many positives, but because everybody can grow it, it's hard to control, and that's where the problems come.
That's what government does. They don't actually create anything. They just control stuff.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more that kind of stuff kind of rankles me a little bit. Like recreational marijuana use, I don't care. I have, over the last couple years, in a couple instances, tried gummies.
Oh my God.
And I didn't like the way they made me feel.
No.
Just like drinking. I don't drink. I haven't been drunk in decades. I just don't do it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. So I'm not going to be using it, but do I care if anybody else does?
No.
Not really.
I do think opening up legalized marijuana, just like legalized alcohol, has become, I think it's something that employers and other facilities are going to have to take on some of that responsibility and manage their employees on their own. because
what?
you don't
manage our employees.
You don't want somebody high on marijuana performing surgery on you. You don't want somebody high on marijuana flying your plane.
You don't want somebody high on marijuana driving a forklift.
Exactly. And it's just like you don't want somebody who's drunk on alcohol cutting you open. I mean, so you're going to have to... Now, them serving you at the restaurant or something is a completely different capacity, but it's still annoying when they are slow as shit because they're stoned out of their mind.
This is true.
Have you ever been to Colorado? Have you ever seen how slow everything is in Colorado nowadays? I don't think it's brain drain, and I don't think it's all the Californians moving to Colorado. I think it is everybody stoned out of their mind that's under a certain age, and they're slow as shit.
Now, do you know that has to do with marijuana use, or was it just like
could they all just be brain damage from high altitude?
A couple generations behind us, and the high altitude. Sure,
I don't know if you're working at a national park behind the counter.
Yeah,
and you're wearing fuzzy pajamas that you zip up, and it's noon, and you're stoned out of your mind. I think there might be a problem.
I have zero problem with that. I think that's great.
See. It rankles my Capricorn efficiency.
See, that would be like the highlight of a vacation trip. Like, we walked into the office and they were wearing pink bunny pajamas and checked us in.
It's not even Halloween.
It's not even Halloween. It was great.
All right.
All right. We will give MegaWheel the Magnificent another spin on this wonderful Thanksgiving edition. We hope your Thanksgiving week is going wonderfully as well.
Yeah.
And so our next question is this. Are you thankful about I'm trying to twist these. Let me give you the question. Okay?
Sure.
How do you view the concept of time? Is it linear or cyclical? And I was trying to turn that into, are you thankful to understand time in a linear or cyclical fashion? Which really isn't a question that we would typically deal with or that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say this. Are you thankful at our age, as Generation X, to have lived and experienced enough that you're able to compare the past with the present and make determinations about quality of life? Have we progressed or regressed in certain areas? Are you thankful for the wisdom of age is basically what that becomes.
No. Let me kind of blow your mind on this one. I think we experience time through consciousness. Okay, like consciousness is the only thing that allows a being to experience time.
Sure.
Because technically, you're not ever living in the moment. I love how everybody thinks about time, it's either the past, present, or the future. No, it's always the future. Because your mind, your consciousness is always predicting what's coming next. You're predicting moving your hand when you talk. You're predicting responding to someone. You're predicting when you drive. You're predicting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is your consciousness is what does that. That's the difference between having consciousness and not having consciousness, is not really anticipating or predicting.
Okay.
And that the human mind is less logical and more of a pattern recognition computer. As much as it rankles the philosophy majors out there and the people who wish that they could think everyone thought logically about problems, I think the majority of people, I think you can think logically. That's a function of the brain, but I think by and large, the brain is nothing but a large pattern recognition computer. So going back on that, the cycle of time, learning from the past, sure, that's the old adage of the past doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, The history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can look at things strategically or logically and say, oh, okay, well, this happened in the past. Let's try not to have it happen in the future. Or let's recreate that and have that renaissance again in the future. Okay. But I think there's so much going on, especially nowadays with so much stimulus,
mm-hmm.
that most people are just barely adequate at keeping up, at predicting their next move, let alone thinking 5 steps ahead into the future or living in the past.
I think you really touched on something there, that the stimulus and input that we have today is so much greater than we had as children and as prior generations had. And I think that's where it comes from. So when you hear that phrase, got to live in the moment, you got to live in the now, it doesn't mean right now, this very present. It means don't let yourself be stuck in the mud of the past. Learn from it and move on. And don't plan everything down to the last letter, because things change, things shift. I love thinking about the concept of time because it is strictly and specifically a human concept. If an alien landed here right now and we said, hey, it's 10 after 3 in the afternoon, they would go, what the fuck does that mean? Because it doesn't mean anything to them. Time is just a measure of change.
Sure.
And from that perspective, I think that lets you loosen the reins up a little bit. You understand philosophically that the past is just things that happen, changes, events, incidents, things like that. The future is going to be made up of those things. How do we make good decisions that are going to affect things positively in the future, as opposed to getting stuck in the past or retreading the mistakes that we've made, going back over the things that didn't turn out as well? And so from that perspective, I'm thankful that we are able to look back, process. It helps us try to make better decisions. But so often we repeat the same bullshit. And you can, at our age, you can see that having happened so often in the past. You can see it happening again and again. And sometimes we see it in our own lives. I know I shouldn't have done that. I knew how it was going to turn out, whatever thing you might be talking about. And I think that's the frustration of age, is that sometimes you keep making the same stupid decisions.
Well, to quote my late father, I shouldn't have looked in the mirror, because every day I just keep getting prettier. So he just kept repeating that mistake. So, yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to think about the nature of time versus, like, how do different creatures, let's say, interact with this quasi-abstract concept that we have as time. Like, is time another dimension? Is it the fifth dimension or the fourth dimension? Who knows? Is it just a construct that we've made up? Is it the cycle between light and dark?
Yeah.
That's where I started thinking, okay, so maybe it's just consciousness that allows us to experience time.
Well, yeah, because if we weren't conscious, we couldn't.
Exactly. So but everybody's always like, well, how do you define consciousness? Can you really define that anything is truly conscious? Are we living in a simulation? Are we blah, blah, blah? This whole crazy crap.
And those are the things that the folks with philosophy degrees, when people start asking those questions, we just kind of give them the side eye and go, you really need to read more, and walk away, because that kind of bullshit is just, make a Zen koan out of it and walk away. It's just stupid. But yeah, consciousness, and from that perspective, is a cicada conscious?
Of course it is.
They make decisions, they do things, their cycle, their time is just way shorter than ours. Some animals live for a season, some live for a day, some live for 10 years.
But they're always predicting how to act next.
Yeah.
Or you don't stay alive in the animal world.
And some of it is instinct, but some of it is reason too. Yeah. I mean, you guys have a cat, we've got cats. You can watch them reason and think through problems sometimes. I mean, really, you can. And it's fascinating to me. Cats, dogs, all kinds of creatures, when you watch them reason through a process, reason through a problem, and figure out a solution, you kind of go, damn, that's the same thing that I do, just with different stuff. And so their concept of time, it's daylight, there's sunlight delay in because it's warm, and I like feeling warm. You can see the thought processes. Now, do they think about time per se?
Apparently not, because our cat likes to try to get breakfast anywhere between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. So light and dark have nothing to do with that.
Here's the thing I wonder sometimes is, like, we've had cats our entire married life, my wife and I. my parents and I always had cats. And the thing I wonder is, as some of the cats have been young, gotten older and eventually passed away, did they wonder why we didn't? Or do they see us age against their aging? And is it a question that pops up? Like, why don't they seem the same as me? That's something I think about a lot. Like, especially because, our one cat that passed away a few years ago, Nietzsche, she was 19. We had her for a long time. And basically from kittenhood until she passed. What did she think as she aged? Because we watched her age. Used to jump around all over the furniture and cabinets and stuff. And by the end, she just couldn't. And I always, it's those things you want to interview your pets. You want to interview other creatures to see how, if they do at all, how they see that kind of passage. Because again, it's change. Things have changed. It's not time. It's just change, how they view that. Yeah. And it's one of those weird things. So I'm thankful that we get to look back at that kind of stuff and view it and have it as part of our lives. Should we give the wheel one more spin on this holiday edition?
Then I will throw a question your way after that.
Ooh, okay. So we will give MegaWheel the Magnificent one more spin. And she's rolling and turning. And our question is, I think we've had this before, so I'm going to kill that one. We'll give her a spin again. It was about if you would rather be able to read minds or move stuff with your mind. Yeah,
well, while that's spinning up, let me ask you, what is your favorite and least favorite Thanksgiving dishes that your family sometimes presents?
Okay, so
you only get to pick one of each.
Only one of each.
Yeah.
Okay. Least favorite is generally yams or sweet potatoes. Even though I've come to accept them, and I'm not fully against them like I was when I was a kid, but those are probably the last thing I'm going to put on my plate. And I've got to have a tie for first. First would either be jellied cranberry sauce or deviled eggs. Not the turkey, not any of the other stuff, not mashed potatoes. If you told me, Scott, your Thanksgiving dinner is going to be just deviled eggs and cranberry sauce, I would be like, set it up, man. I'm happy. I'm good. No problem.
Toilet bowl.
And I have to say, I make some damn good deviled eggs.
All right.
So I'm a pro at it. So back at you then.
Back at me, my most unfavorite was this bizarre concoction. I actually looked it up this morning because I didn't want to be like, it's got all these parts and it doesn't make any sense. It's something called 7-Up. 7-Up salad.
What?
Is what it is. And it is lime Jell-O with 7-Up and carrots.
Oh.
And pineapple, crushed pineapple.
Yeah.
And then they put some sort of whipped cream or something on top.
Yeah.
And then they add more carrots or something to the top. It's fucking foul.
In like a bundt cake pan. And
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the worst. My mother insisted on having that all the time.
Yeah.
And I never touched it.
Yeah,
I couldn't
it's like
stand the look or smell of it.
The bottom or the top when you turn it out onto the plate is the Jell-O, and then it's like the whipped cream on the bottom.
Yeah.
With odd random pieces of fruit
that
are always crunchier or it's horrifying.
Yeah,
I agree.
And my favorite is actually the jellied cranberry.
Yes,
that's what I would go with. If I had to pick a number 2, it would be stuffing.
Okay. Yeah.
I could have a plate full of stuffing and cranberry sauce and be a happy camper. Although I have been known to buy the cranberry sauce after the holidays when it goes on sale. Yeah. And then just use it whenever I make like a steak or something. Just slice a big old chunk of that off and put it under the steak and let the steak heat it up. Yeah.
Well, here's how much I love jellied cranberry sauce. My grandparents on my mom's side, grandma and grandpa, from the time I was a little kid on up until the time they passed away, one of my Christmas presents was always a 6-can pack of Ocean Spray Jelly Cranberry
That's pretty
sauce.
great.
Yeah. So throughout the year, I would gradually, knock one back. And,
I'm glad that you received weird food items
as
Christmas presents, because that's
Yeah.
something that's happened in my
here's the
family,
thing.
and it's the same.
They thought it was weird. They thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's
this is great. I got my cranberry sauce this year. This is awesome. Like, I didn't think it was weird at all.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect Christmas gift for
Yeah.
me. So,
Man.
okay. The question, if you had to describe the best kiss you've ever had, how would you describe it? So, on this Thanksgiving, look back and tell me about the kiss that you are most thankful for.
Well, I've had many kisses that I'm thankful for any kisses I get at this age, but I had one that always stands out. It's a complete whopper.
Yeah.
I will save the sanctity of the young lady who laid that on me. I wouldn't want to besmirch her virginity or anything. No, but I had a girl out of the blue sitting in her bedroom, just hanging out, doing stuff, sat on my lap and just stuck her tongue right down my throat.
Nice.
Deep, heavy, amazing kiss. I'm coming right out here, kids. This is all bald-faced craziness. The only time anyone has ever kissed me so well that I spontaneously...
Jesus.
It's never happened since. It's never happened before that. And I'm quite grateful for that.
Definitely something to be thankful for.
That definitely, yeah. So that
fascinating.
That was back in high school. So that should tell you about the time that happened. So it's been a few years since that happened. But How about you, sir?
The kiss that I'm most thankful for was my first one with my wife.
Okay.
Because we had gone out on our first date. We had met online and talked and stuff for months before we finally went out on a date. Went out on the date. We met at a bookstore. Went up to Spring Grove Cemetery. That was one of the stops on our date. I used to do a radio show at WAIF. Mm-hmm. She went with me to that, and then we went out to dinner and took her back to her truck that was parked where the bookstore is. And, we get out of my truck and we're just chatting, and we're both kind of leaning on the bed of her truck. And it was the strangest thing because we're talking, and as soon as I saw her, the attraction that I had to her over the phone and through conversation, it was just like, yeah, this, we've talked about that before on the show. And so I remember looking at her and just saying, I'd really like to kiss you. I wasn't going to do the thing of just walking over. I wasn't going to...
You weren't going to sit on her lap and stick your tongue down her throat.
Although in retrospect, that might have worked.
All right.
But I said that, and her response was no, which stunned me. And for a couple seconds, we just kind of stood there looking at each other. And then she said, well, okay. And came over, and it was the most amazing kiss ever.
Now, what was the hesitance? Was that explained?
Yes, it was.
Playing hard
later,
to get, or is
no,
okay.
it was because she was dating other people at the time, and she was trying to be very careful of not like starting something that she might not be willing to finish. She wanted to maintain an honorable distance. But apparently I had been such a great date.
It's all those pheromones. They're just oozing off of him like Razor Ramon.
It was just sweating
all the
over
machismo.
But yeah, that was the thing, and the immediate stun of no, and then just the eye contact and just looking at each other, and then, well, okay. And
twist my arm. All right.
And apparently we were both on our drives home. Hers was significantly longer than mine. We were both kind of in the same tingly kind of holy crap. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, fascinating, wonderful stuff. So I'm very thankful for that. And we here at the Gen Existentialists are very thankful for you, our listeners. We appreciate every week when you tune in. We appreciate the comments and questions. If you would like to get in touch with us, leave us a note wherever you found this. Go to our RSS page.
And I'd like to add that we have been posting our shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. And YouTube, we currently do not have a ton of subscribers, but we do get a lot of listens on YouTube. So if you're out there listening to us on YouTube, do me a favor. If you click the thumbs up or thumbs down, however you felt about that this episode, doesn't matter to me. Just let us know you're out there and consider subscribing. We only put one episode out a week, so we're not going to flood your feed full of junk.
Right.
And we have all of our backlogs on YouTube too, so you can feel free to go backwards, forwards. This is not this is an evergreen podcast, as they like to say. You know, you can listen to it anytime. There's very little. We don't talk about dates and such too much. It's all good in the hood. So give us a listen, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
What do they say on YouTube videos all the time? Like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah. Let us know what you're thinking, and that'll do it this week for the Gen Existentialist. My name is Scott.
And I'm Buddy.
We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.